nationwide power cuts this year. Egypt filed complaints against referee after World Cup exit. Heart of the Matter is on supporting small and medium enterprises, while the feature is on Igbo Olodumare. My name is Emilia Ujimudia, and I'm reading with...
Great one there. My name is Nee Down. So you can listen on www.radionigeriaibadan.gov.ng, X, Instagram, and Facebook at PFM935 Ibadan. Be conscious of your environment. Report any suspicious activity. Now the news in full. Senate has urged the executive to stop the policy of rehabilitating and reintegrating former Boko Haram members into the society and ensure that perpetrators of terrorism and banditry are instead arrested and made to face the full wrath of the law. The resolutions followed a motion of urgent national importance on escalating attacks, abductions and killings of serving and retired military personnel, sponsored by the chairman, Senate Committee on Army, Senator Abdulaziz Yar'Adua, during plenary. The Senate condemned in strong terms the worsening insecurity in Nigeria, describing it as increasingly complex, persistent, and alarming, manifesting through terrorism, insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, attacks on communities, and continued loss of innocent lives across the country. Report says debate on the issue drew contributions from senators across party lines, reflecting deep concerns within the National Assembly over a security crisis that has in recent years expanded beyond its traditional northeast epicenter to parts of the country. This happened as the Nigerian Army announced the surrender of 2 senior terrorist commanders to troops of Operation Hadinkai in Borno State, saying the detained suspects have provided valuable intelligence expected to aid ongoing operations against insurgents in the northeast.
Families and members of Omugo community in Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State have celebrated the return of the 3 remaining worshippers of the Evangelical Church Winning All Ekwa Omugo, who regained their freedom after spending 105 days in captivity. The 3 women, including a hearing-impaired widow, were among 8 worshippers abducted by suspected kidnappers who invaded the church during a Sunday service on the 22nd of March this year. While 5 of the victims reportedly died in captivity, the remaining 3 regained their freedom following a coordinated security offensive against suspected kidnappers operating in forests along the Kwara-Kogi border.
Gunmen have abducted 3 students of the Federal University of Lafayette, Nasarawa State, with police rescuing one of the victims during a search and rescue operation in the state. The State Police Command disclosed this in a statement issued by its spokesperson, SP Rahman Nansel. According to the statement, the students were abducted last night from their lodge, located in a bushy area on the outskirts of the students' residential community in Lafayette. The command said it received a distress call at about 20 minutes past 9 o'clock in the evening from the university's chief security officer, who reported that unidentified armed men had abducted the 3 students.
Some members of the All Progressives Congress APC in Plateau State have staged a peaceful protest at the party's state secretariat in Jos, the state capital, alleging the imposition of a candidate in the party's House of Representatives primary election for the Pankshin, Kanke and Kanam PKK federal constituency. The protesters, mainly youths from the constituency, marched to the secretariat carrying placards with inscriptions including "Protect internal democracy," "Our votes must count," "Respect party structures," "Justice for PKK constituency," and "APC must uphold fairness." They submitted a petition challenging the outcome of the primary election that produced the incumbent lawmaker Yusuf Adamu Gagdi as the party's candidate for the 2027 House of Representatives election. The petition, signed by one of the aspirants, Mr. John Dongshinan Gojak, on behalf of the concerned party members and stakeholders, alleged irregularities in the collation and declaration of results. However, the petition alleged that officials from the party's national secretariat later disagreed with the authority of the designated officers and introduced other individuals into the collation process.
Well, unfortunately, so we have the story from Oyo State. Economic activities were disrupted in the Ojo and Sabo areas of Akinyele local government area of Oyo State this morning, following a violent clash involving some Yoruba and Hausa residents. An eyewitness told Radio Nigeria that the crisis reportedly began on Tuesday evening and resulted in the death of a Yoruba man whose killing allegedly triggered reprisals and renewed violence in the affected communities on Wednesday morning.
We discovered that people were running up and down. They now said that a Yoruba man was killed yesterday. So this morning, they want to retaliate. All those market women, they did not open their shop. Later, we saw that there was soldier and the police were around.
Another eyewitness, Mr. Kureo Nisha, claimed that the violence stemmed from a dispute over an alleged failed point-of-sale POS transaction which began on Tuesday. He said the disagreement escalated during a reconciliation on Wednesday morning while gunshots allegedly fired from the direction of a scavengers settlement hit two persons, further heightening tensions in the area. The incident created panic among residents and commuters, forcing shops and markets to close, while traders, commercial drivers, passengers, and other road users fled the area for safety. Vehicular movement along the busy Ojo axis was also disrupted as many motorists took alternative routes to avoid the troubled area. Security personnel, including military operatives, were deployed to the affected communities to restore law and order. Their intervention brought the situation under control, although the area remained largely deserted as at the time this report was being filed. Meanwhile, the Deputy Governor of Oyo State, Chief Adebayo Lawal, visited the scene for an on-the-spot assessment and assured residents that the government was on top of the situation, with investigations ongoing to identify those responsible for the violence. He promised that all those found culpable would be arrested and prosecuted. The Deputy Governor appealed to residents to remain calm, stressing that the incident should not be given ethnic or sectional coloration. Confirming the development, the Public Relations Officer of the Oyo State Police Command, DSP Olayinka Anyolade, said normalcy had been restored to the Ojo and Sabo areas, adding that security operatives remained on the ground to maintain peace and prevent any further breakdown of law and order.
Under control. Our men have been deployed there, and the operation is still ongoing to ensure safety in that area.
DSP Anyolade said the command had scheduled a meeting with the leadership of the two ethnic groups to ascertain the cause of the violence with a view to addressing it at its root. He appealed to residents to remain calm, avoid spreading unverified information, and cooperate with security agencies by providing useful information to assist the investigation. Speaking on behalf of residents of the Strabag community in Ojo, the youth leader, Mr. Bosi Mufutao, appealed to the state government to reinforce security in the area to prevent reprisal attacks and further destruction of property. As of the time this report was filed, 2 fire engines from the Oyo State Fire Service were at the scene, extinguishing a fire involving heaps of recyclable materials used by scavengers, while security personnel maintained a heavy presence to prevent any further escalation of the crisis.
Now, still talking security, the Nigeria Police Oyo State Command has arrested 2 suspected armed robbers and recovered a firearm allegedly used during a robbery operation along the Oyo-Iwo Road in Afigio local government area of the state. The command spokesperson, Mr. Olainka Ayonlade, disclosed this in a statement issued in Ibadan, the state capital. According to Mr. Ayonlade, the incident occurred in the early hours of Sunday, July the 5th, 2026, after the police control room at Eleyele, Ibadan, the state headquarters, received a distress call reporting that armed robbers had blocked the highway around Akoda village in Afigio local government area. The Commissioner of Police, Mr. Olubinga Abimbola, commended the professionalism and prompt response of the operatives, describing the arrest as evidence of the command's determination to tackle crime in the state. He assured residents that efforts were ongoing to apprehend other members of the gang still at large, urging members of the public to continue providing timely and credible information to security agencies.
President Bola Tinubu has directed the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, to conduct a thorough investigation into the activities of a Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, PFIPC, and all related matters. The President directed that the investigation be concluded and a comprehensive report submitted to him within 30 days. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, stated that the directive was occasioned by the discovery of the alleged fictitious PFIPC, which it said was never established by the federal government of Nigeria and has no basis in any law, presidential instrument, executive approval, or other lawful act of government. According to the statement, one Adeni Adeyemi Matthew presented himself as the Director General of the so-called PFIPC and falsely claimed to be a presidential appointee. The President further directed the Commission to identify any weakness in government and institutional procedures that may have been exploited and to recommend immediate measures to prevent the recurrence of similar abuses.
Now, away from security to education, the National Universities Commission, NUC, and the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, have approved the enforcement of admission quotas for Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, and technology programs in Nigerian universities to improve the quality of engineering education and practical training. The president of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, Professor Sadiq Abubakar, announced this in Abuja. Professor Abubakar said the approval would ensure universities admit only the number of students their infrastructure, laboratories, workshops, equipment, and academic staff can adequately support. He described the development as the culmination of decades of advocacy by the engineering profession, noting that unrestricted admissions had overstretched facilities and weakened practical training in many institutions. According to him, the Council would also work with the National Board for Technical Education, NBTE, to introduce similar admission controls for engineering programs and polytechnics.
The Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, Mr. Oludaisi Elemide, has assured that the proposed Ogun State Safe Termination of Pregnancy Law 2026 will undergo thorough legislative scrutiny to ensure that it does not conflict with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or any existing law. Mr. Elemide gave the assurance after lawmakers debated the bill during its second reading at the Assembly Complex, Okemoso Abeokuta, the state capital. He explained that the House Committee on Health, alongside relevant stakeholders, would subject the bill to detailed consideration to ensure that it aligns with constitutional provisions and other extant laws while achieving its intended policy objectives without creating legal conflicts. Earlier, the sponsor of the bill and chairman of the House Committee on Health, Mr. Wahab Haruna, described the proposed legislation as a vital intervention to address the persistent challenge of maternal mortality and morbidity in Ogun State. Other lawmakers, including Mr. Oluseun Adesoya and Mr. Yusuf Sharif, said the proposed legislation would improve access to accurate information and appropriate medical intervention needed to protect women's health. The bill was referred to the House Committee on Health for further legislative consideration.
Youths have been urged to build resilience, perseverance, and a positive mindset as key tools for tackling life's challenges and reaching their goals. A professor of guidance and counseling, University of Ibadan, Ayo Ahmed, met the call while delivering a lecture organized by the Federation of Muslim Women's Associations in Nigeria, FOMWAN, Oyo State chapter, as part of activities marking its 40th anniversary in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Professor Ahmed enjoined youths to stay focused despite the social, academic, and economic challenges they might face. Corroborating another speaker, Professor Sherifat Akoride, noted that resilience is all about bouncing back from setbacks, adapting to changes, and keeping eyes on the goals, urging the youths to see challenges as chances for growth, learning, and self-improvement rather than roadblocks. The speakers emphasized that determination, discipline, and hard work are the cornerstones of personal and professional success, urging the participants never to give up on their dreams. Some of the attendees, drawn from secondary schools, youth, and religious organizations, commended the organizers for their enlightenment and motivation, adding that the lecture would empower them to tackle future challenges with renewed confidence and resilience. At the occasion where Amira Federation of Muslim Women's Associations in Nigeria, Form 1, Oyo State Chapter, Dr. Latifat Dairo, Chairperson, Central Planning Committee for the 40th Anniversary, Al-Hajja Sururat Uyeru, and other members of the association.
It is now an offense for motorists, especially commercial drivers, plying the Ogbomosho Oko Ijado route in Oyo State to overload their vehicles. The Deputy Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Ogbomosho Unit Command, Mr. Olubenga Dada, gave the warning in an interview with Radio Nigeria in Oko, Oyo State. Mr. Dada frowned at the attitude of some motorists, particularly commercial drivers, operating along the route, and warned that anyone caught violating the unit command's directive would be sanctioned. The FRSC Deputy Commander identified poor road networks, overloading, excessive speeding, making or receiving phone calls while driving, poor vehicle maintenance, and driver fatigue as some of the major causes of road crashes across the country. Mr. Dada restated that the FRSC Ogbomosho Unit Command would intensify patrols along the Ogbomosho Oko Ijado route to curb traffic violations among motorists in the area.
Headlines. Senate has cautioned executive against reintegrating repentant Boko Haram members. 2 are feared dead as Hausa Yoruba clash in Ibadan. And still to come, Cubans protest third nationwide power cut this year. And Egypt files complaints against referee after controversial World Cup exit. Do stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Thanks for remaining with us. We'll now take you through some stories from the foreign scene. The Court of Appeal sitting in Ibadan has before we go to the foreign stories, all right? The Court of Appeal sitting in Ibadan has directed the management of the International School, Ibadan ISI, not to take any action against students affected by the hijab dispute pending the hearing and determination of an application for a stay of execution. The directive was issued by a 3-member panel of the court, led by Justice Kenneth Amadi, during proceedings at the Court of Appeal, Ring Road, Ibadan. The latest order followed the Court of Appeal's judgment delivered on July 3, which set aside the 2024 judgment of the Oyo State High Court and upheld the appeal filed by the International School Ibadan over the use of hijab by some female Muslim students. Counsel to the Muslim Right Concern Murik, Mr. Hassan Fajimite, told the court that shortly after the judgment, the school notified parents of its intention to begin enforcing the ruling from Monday. Mr. Fajimita said Murik had filed a notice of appeal at the Supreme Court on the same day, alongside applications for a stay of execution and an injunction pending the determination of the appeal. Mr. Fajimita also alleged that the principal of the International School Ibadan had issued a warning that students who fail to comply with the Court of Appeal's judgment would face disciplinary action. However, counsel to the University of Ibadan, the international school, and the principal, Mr. Damilola Kesaya, denied the allegation, insisting that no such threat had been made. After hearing both parties, the court directed that no action should be taken against the affected students pending the hearing and determination of the application for a stay of execution, and adjourned the matter until October 7, 2026 for the hearing on the pending applications.
Now you may continue with your foreign story.
All right, thank you for that. Now let's go to Cuba.
Cuba, of course, yes.
Cubans in several locations of the island protested to express their anger about the latest nationwide power cut. While public dissent in the communist-run country is often punished with long prison sentences, there have been spontaneous protests in areas worst affected by the outages. Fuel shortages have been exacerbated by tight U.S. sanctions and an effective oil blockade, meaning that even those who have generators often do not have the fuel to run them during power cuts. Cuban officials said most of the country had power restored, but locals shouted, "Turn on the lights," in areas still in the dark. Monday's nationwide outage was the third this year and comes on top of a state-imposed rolling electricity cuts aimed at conserving the little fuel that is left.
All right, still on the foreign scene, and from Cuba, we take you now to Egypt, but it has to do with the World Cup. The Egyptian Football Federation said it had asked for the officiating team who handled the Pharaohs' 3-2 loss to Argentina to be thrown out of the World Cup. President of the Egyptian Football Federation, Hani Aburida, filed a complaint with FIFA demanding an investigation into the French referee Francois Letizia after the serious refereeing mistakes committed by the team of referees and double standards, which caused the Egyptian team to lose the match and leave the World Cup. Letizia ruled out a Mustafa Ziko goal when they were leading 1-0 after VAR intervened to spot a foul on Lisandro Martinez much earlier in the match. Don't ask me how that match went.
No.
I saw it.
That was an aftermath of the match between Argentina and Egypt,
of course.
And actually, defending champions Argentina came from behind to produce a miraculous comeback to defeat Egypt. We're still debating the miracle anyway. But in the final round of 16 fixtures, Switzerland beat Colombia 4-3 on penalties to advance to the quarterfinals, and the quarterfinals of the tournament begins tomorrow as France will take on Morocco in the first game.
All right.
Okay, Fozia Kashim of our Current Affairs Unit in today's Out of the Matter writes on supporting small and medium enterprises.
According to the World Bank, small and medium enterprises, SMEs, are the backbone of most economies, representing around 90% of all businesses and accounting for more than half of global employment. In developing countries, SMEs are central to economic diversification, productivity, poverty reduction, yet they face persistent challenges in obtaining the financing needed to start, sustain, and grow. To underscore the importance of SMEs, First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu encouraged women to start micro-enterprises like selling akara, bean cakes, kuli-kuli, and roasted corn to cope with current economic challenges. Critics described her reference to businesses such as akara and kuli-kuli as an insult to Nigerians struggling under severe economic hardship. What is obvious is that she neither instructed unemployed graduates to abandon their ambitions, nor suggested that frying akara should become national economic policy. What the First Lady portrayed exists all around as such businesses is quietly sustaining millions of Nigerians. Millions of livelihoods are sustained outside air-conditioned offices and corporate boardrooms. They are found in cassava processing sheds, fishing smoking huts, tailoring workshops, mechanic villages, roadside food stores, local dye pits, and neighborhood grinding mills. What appears insignificant from a distance has financed countless dreams. They said that the society is fast becoming a place of entitlement where enterprise and occupations become classified according to prestige rather than productivity. Sadly, economies do not grow because every citizen becomes a neurosurgeon, investment banker, or artificial intelligence developer. Economy grows as a result of millions of people who create value, however modestly, every single day. Ironically, many Nigerians who reject such occupations at home readily embrace them abroad. Graduates migrate to developed countries and begin life cleaning hospitals, caring for the elderly, washing dishes, or working in warehouses. Many of them perform these jobs with dignity as labor carries little social stigma in those societies. Yet, what is glaring is that hunger is real. Inflation has eroded purchasing power and youth unemployment keeps skyrocketing in Nigeria. The government has a huge responsibility for creating an environment in which businesses can survive, infrastructure functions efficiently, and investments flourish. The fight against unemployment will not be won by government recruitment alone, as there are not enough white-collar jobs for the thousands of graduates produced annually.
That script on supporting small and medium enterprises was written by Fozia Kashim of a Current Affairs Unit and read by Feishara Uwomoela.
Now, do you know that there's a popular book, Igbo Olodumare, and is a forest located somewhere in Ondo State? Well, let's join Moyolua Afolabi for details.
One would not believe that the famous Yoruba book, Igbo Olodumare, written by Pa Daniel O. Fagunwa, is indeed a natural setting in Ondo State. Igbo Olodumare is a forest located in the interior part of a village via Ileoluji town in Okeigbo local government area of Ondo State. There are so many fascinating sights to behold in Igbo Olodumare, while some features in the region are mysterious. At the entrance, there is a gate and steps leading to the core of Igbo Olodumare. The entrance is hidden inside the thick forest, such that it becomes difficult to locate without the help of a guide. Also, there is a mysterious snake called Ojolao Nibinu, the python with a human head, which resides inside a cave on the mountain. Ojolao Nibinu comes out once every year and moves around the mountain. Every living thing that it sees during its tour would not escape. After moving round, the python returns to its cave and would not come out until the following year. Igbo Olodumare is simply a mystifying place, and just as its name implies, it is the forest of the Almighty.
All right, that script on Igbo Olodumare was written by Grace Ojo.
Okay, to end the news on the world today, we told you that Senate cautioned executive against reintegrating repentant Boko Harams. The two are feared dead as Hausa and Yoruba clash in Ibadan, and that Cuban protests, third nationwide park out, and the complaint from Egypt against Argentina's the referee at the World Cup as the exit.
All right, well, that's it on the world today. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program. Lilian Ibomo edited, and I'm Emilia Ujimudia. Thank